My name is Ryan Robb. I'm from Plainfield, Indiana. It's on the west side of Indianapolis, about 15 minutes away. Been in Joe's program since technically last September.
Last September?
Yeah, so about 4 going on 5 months now. We finally got the ball rolling in September and pinned down a couple of deals right off the bat. And I was at the September buying event both days, yes, and did some calls. And actually one of the calls that I did led to an email with a seller on Sunday evening, and signed up a deal Tuesday evening at the appointment I had made with them. And we had $5,000 in hand and a happy seller and a happy buyer by Friday of the following week. We had money in our hand actually 2 days after the buyer looked at it. Buyer looked at it on Wednesday night, and they had money in hand on Friday night, and we signed all the papers on Saturday afternoon. So the following Friday, whenever the seller got their stuff moved out, the buyer was all ready to move in. It was moving in right on their heels. So it's a very nice deal. Quick $5,000. Had probably 4 hours worth of work into the deal, with a good hour and a half of it was just spent with the seller, talking with them about what they wanted, what they needed, what kind of time frame they had. Then the buyer was very happy to get into their own home. It was actually a military couple. The gal's husband is in Iraq right now. He is a contractor, and he's overseas, and they actually were in, I think, Baton Rouge. And she had come up here to be with family, but they really didn't have room in their family's house for her to stay, so she was actually staying in a long-term hotel and living out of her car, basically, and was just extremely happy. And you know, it's one of those deals, like you call it, the crying quotient. Yeah, she gave me a hug and cried, and so that was a nice first deal. The rest of September was basically still making calls to sellers and going on some appointments and learning the curve, you know, the questions that they ask, and just basically getting familiar with how to talk with sellers, and being confident in how to work with them and how to handle all their concerns, and you know, and then learning about marketing the houses. I picked up, if I remember correctly, I picked up, I think, 3 more seller homes within about 2 weeks. And actually one of them was a home run, because I picked up a guy that used to be a realtor that now owns a construction company. And when his guys aren't busy, which is pretty much most of the time right now with the economy, he goes and buys like foreclosed homes and undervalued homes, and then puts these boys to work on those, fixing them up and then renting them out. And it's been very nice for me, because he has me help him rent them out, of course, on a rent to buy. And I have never even met this man, and he just leaves me a lease option memo at every property that he calls me up about, and I just go over to the property and take the pictures and put out the sign, put the lockbox on the door, and market the property. And so far he's given me, we've done 4 deals with him so far, and never even met the seller. So very lucrative. Things are really picking up now, picking up some more homes, picking up the buyers. You know, I know another guy that I work with here in town, he just closed a deal last night right in the parking lot here, and it's been very, very good. So yeah, just that's the basis of where we started and where we are now. The stuff that Joe does is more one-on-one, you know, when you really, it's unique to the point that you get the help and the answers that you need to the questions that you have right away. You know, I, like a lot of other people, have been to a lot of seminars and boot camps and all that kind of stuff, and spent my fair share of money. But you know, when it comes time to do a deal and you're face to face with a buyer or a seller or what have you, and you've got an issue, you really need that support, you know, then and there. And you know, these guys are always just with Joe and his team of people are just you know, a phone call or an email away from getting that help. So it's been a huge benefit and a huge help to getting over, you know, any type of analysis paralysis or boot camp-itis you might have or something, you know. So just works really well. I like all the deals because you help people that, you know, it's a win-win situation. Everything's always a win-win situation for everyone. The seller needs to move for some reason or another, or buyer needs to get in for some reason or another. But you know, probably my most memorable deal so far would be that first one. You know, just being able to help someone that's living. Well, I did have a gal at Christmas time. It was actually Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, we were visiting with the family out of state, and I actually had a voicemail from a gal. She was crying. She was crying. She was living in her car, and she had a situation where they just got thrown out of their house, and she had been living with family, and she actually had money, which, you know, can be an issue, but she actually had money. She had $5,000 down. She saw one of my houses. She was surfing on Craigslist at Christmas Eve, looking for a house, saw one of my ads that, you know, an assistant had posted. And so I get this voicemail that I reluctantly answered, and I listened to it, and this gal was just crying, and she wanted in this house, and I kid you not, she says, "I've got $5,000 cash. I want in this house tonight." It's like, okay. So I called up the seller, and, you know, was able to get a hold of him Christmas Eve, and I said, "Is there any way you can get this gal to come look at this house?" And she said, sure, we'll help him out. So the gal drove and looked at the house, and it was a very nice house. It was actually just a manufactured home, but it had been added on to. It was done very beautifully. It was on 2 acres of property, and a nice quiet area and everything, and to raise kids and stuff. And you know, she went and looked at the house, and the seller showed her the house, and she looked at it, and basically she wanted it right then and there. And so you know, the bottom line of it, what ended up happening is we spent, you know, Christmas Day with our family and all, and the seller actually had felt so sorry for the gal that they actually paid for her for a motel for, I think, what was Christmas? It was on Friday or something like that, or Thursday of last year, and then paid for it for the weekend. And then whenever I came back on Monday, we took care of all the paperwork and stuff, and they let her live in the second bedroom of this house until the sellers got moved out, which was about 2 weeks ago. So that was a very nice deal. But yeah, that was another crying quotient, hug, and tears and all of that, and kids. It's always great to see the kids be able to get into a house. Yeah, and it was actually, the house itself was one that another student that was in Joe's program had picked up, but we were, you know, affiliately marketing, if that's a word, but that we were marketing for them. So just win-win for everybody, you know. When I first signed up about middle of last year with Joe, I did get the websites started and so forth. Really didn't do a whole lot with them until we got started with that first house. But yeah, probably the websites were responsible for my first deal, I would say, because when that was one that the seller was very concerned about putting a sign in the front yard due to HOA rules and stuff. So we didn't. And I went home and I put the stuff on the website, and within 24 hours we had 2 buyers that wanted to look at the property, And the next night I showed the property to those two buyers, and they were actually arguing over who was going to put down the money for the house. The one gal couldn't come through with her end of it because her husband had to see it, and her husband couldn't make it that evening. He was going to come the next night, but by then we had already locked the deal up, so with the other buyer. The one-on-one support is what, a lot of people are looking for, but they just don't get. A lot of other programs. I actually do still have access to a excuse me, to another program that I was in previously, and you just get a bunch of people that have done some deals and things like that before, but they give you advice that, from 9 states away that really doesn't get you any further than you were before you called them. And you got to, wait 2 days or 3 days for a call back or something from them, or to be able to get on a conference call or what have you. And that's the difference between, Joe and Joe's program. I think, there's a lot of new and exciting material Joe's always involving with his program. The students have input to the way that he does business too, and a lot of new exciting stuff's always rolling around. There's some new things that he went over in this event that is going to make quite exciting and quite profitable. And it's a collaborative effort between all the students. The students, all contact each other and work together, and always have the ability to talk with each other and share ideas and bounce ideas off of each other. I know a lot of people that are probably watching this have heard of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, the mastermind group theory, and it really does work. Even though you may not have someone in your local hometown, in backwoods Tennessee or something like that, you've always got a phone that you can pick up and talk to another Joe Crump student to network with, and that's very powerful and very valuable. Team calls are excellent. Jim Drill's been very helpful to me. I mean, anytime that I've ever had an issue, I've been able to just jump on a call and get those questions answered. He spends any amount of time that needs be to get the situation taken care of, and if it's not, on a team call or what have you, you need something right away, he'll take care of it for you. So the team leaders, and Jim's been very great with, getting over any issues that you have, and there's no reason not to use them and not to give them a buzz or shoot them an email. I think bar none, this is the best place to put any money if you're going to do a boot camp or join a real estate course. There's people that spend tens and thousands, almost $60,000+ I've heard of people spending money. I've probably come close to that myself, and bar none, this is probably the place to put it and get a first deal done. About 2 weeks. So actually, from the time that I placed the call to this particular seller and to the time that I had money was, I placed the call on a Saturday evening, and I had money in hand the following Friday, so less than a week. And you figure that money basically paid for the course, so from then on it's just icing on the cake.